Hey, what's going on, guys? Matt back with another video. This one going to be a little bit different. So I have a Discord where just under 150 of you have actually decided to go join, and some of you talk on stock discussion and general items. And recently, a few weeks back, we started something where if you post your video ideas and then people go and vote on them, I will make a video on it. So looking over here, you'll see that there's a list of tickers here. Some people had posted some things, I threw up some ideas, and I didn't get that many votes on many things, but there was one that had the most votes regardless, and that was AMD. So down here, AMD has 3 votes. That's all it took. All it took was 3 votes to be in the lead, and now I'm making this video. So if you guys ever want to join the Discord, come talk with the rest of us on different stocks that you're looking at, and possibly have me make a video on something that you're eyeballing, just to maybe get some other due diligence out there, just to see if I can corroborate maybe a thesis that you have. By all means, toss an idea over here, vote on whichever one that you want to see, and then I'll continue to cover whatever stock gets the most votes. As always, I always try to start with Wall Street bets because I like to see if it's getting any kind of social media influence coverage. It's just part of my strategy. But anyway, Wall Street bets, even though it's not necessarily the same form it was a month ago, it does have a few posts on AMD, which I was actually really surprised to see because it has been a silo of GameStop and AMC for a while now. But it looks like this one had actually gotten 2,400 upvotes, quite a few awards. And of course, it isn't very, very deep on the due diligence, but they did have some very high points that I wanted to get into with some further articles that I found that support the items in this post. So just jumping into it, earnings beat 3 times in a row. So it looks like their earnings guidance for the last 3 quarters had actually gotten beat, which is a positive. So that means they're definitely doing great. They're doing better than people are expecting them to. They're doing better than the guidance that they're issuing. It says here that they've been sub a price of 90 per share for 2 weeks now. That's actually no longer true. They're in the lower 90s. This post is from about a week ago, so over the last week it had trended up a little bit. It looks like Tesla is using those chips, those AMD chips, in the new remodel of the Tesla Model S's in 2021. There is a huge shortage on these chips, on these semiconductor chips. And it looks like price targets are over $120, which we'll get into later as to how there is a price target of 120 bucks. And then besides that, it seems like their position in this is that they have $100 calls for AMD with a expiration date of April 16th. So not much else in this post. Just wanted to use this as a launch pad. So let's get into it. Another quick one I just want to hit is, of course, as you know, Uncle Cramer on his lightning round didn't have much to say on AMD other than buy AMD. So it does have the Cramer approval. Let's see why. If I go over to the Motley Fool, what you'll find in this article, and as always, I have all these articles, all my sources down in the description if you want to go take a look at them yourself and read and learn a little bit more. But just to hit on these relatively quickly, it looks like AMD, their biggest competition is Intel. Intel has the largest market share from what I can see just reading up on this. And AMD has been denting that market share of Intel's quite a bit. So from year over year, they're up very, very much so compared to what they were in 2019. Now it looks like their market share is at 21.7% of the overall x86 processor market, which is desktops, laptops, and server processors. That is up quite a bit from 15.1% market share that they had end Q4 of 2019. So year over year, they went from 15.1 to 21.7 market share. That's pretty great, 6.6% in 1 year of a large market. It's not bad. However, grain of salt here. They did have market share at 22.4% Q3 of 2020, so they did take a 0.7% dip from quarter over quarter. However, it looks like when you read into it, it looks like that has more to do with the timing of release of their new chipset. Hopping over to investorplace.com, you can see here the title says Advanced Micro Devices stock is bound for greener pastures again, with a subtitle that says AMD stock plateaued in December, but releases like its new Ryzen 5000 laptop processors should drive growth. So as we scroll through the article here, you know, it'll give you their massive growth that they've had over the last year, the fact that they had a massive Q4 earnings beat, like we mentioned from that Wall Street Bets post. It goes into the numbers on that. It also mentions the new PC and laptop processors, which are going to drive a lot of growth in 2021. However, I do want to touch on something because I don't always like covering just the pros. We always have to cover the cons. We always have to understand if there is a potential for a gap down and what that is, and if the pros outweigh the potential con. So taking a look at this, AMD gets a downgrade. However, it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows for AMD stock lately. Less than 2 weeks before AMD reported its Q4 earnings, AMD stock got a downgrade. BMO Capital Market analyst Ambrish Srivastava downgraded AMD to underperform from market perform. He also lowered his price target to $75 from $80. His reasoning: AMD has done a tremendous job under its CEO, and valuation reflects the near flawless execution under her watch. However, we do think a large part of the rich valuation is also attributable to how poorly Intel has executed. Srivastava is concerned that a new CEO, the third since 2018, will result in AMD's processor rival getting its act together and regaining lost ground. That's a valid concern, but AMD is hardly going to sit still. The battle for PC processor market share may indeed become more competitive, but AMD has real momentum and its products are impressive on their own merit, not just because the competition has stumbled. So it looks like the biggest con here is that they believe with Intel having a new CEO that more or less this is a competition of market share, and that they believe Intel will be able to bounce back with this CEO and regain some of that market share. So it kind of looks like a more or less a market share battle between CEOs. And in my opinion, that's not necessarily so much a con on AMD, because it looks like AMD has been doing such a great job and they're just crushing the numbers right now that, in my opinion, AMD just needs to keep those blinders on and just keep doing their thing and just chug away and just grind it out, because it looks like they're doing everything right with these new processors coming out. There is a concern that with people not working from home as much in 2021, with COVID hopefully becoming a thing of the past, that there may be some drop in revenue due to working from home going down. However, with working from home going down, you also have more money in the pocket. You have more people coming out to spend, and as people come out to spend, people are looking for those nice new shiny laptops and desktops. And with gaming having, increased its relevance since COVID, with people staying at home, people are still looking for processors. Like I mentioned before, like all these other articles I've been mentioning, demand is sky high and there is a shortage. So of course, Intel and AMD are going to benefit from that, but it's also a question on who are you going to go to if you're in the market to buy a new laptop with that nice new processor? Is it going to be an AMD processor or is it going to be an Intel processor? So to me, it looks like AMD has a lot going for it right now. And it not only that, but it's getting a ton of attention. That is one of the other things I like looking at when I'm looking at these stocks, is how many articles are coming out. How much coverage is it getting on, for example, Reddit, on social media, aside from all these articles and all these analysts? It's always great to see the analyst side, but it's also great to kind of have a feeling for how the retail side is perceiving a company. And as of right now, it looks like Reddit is picking it up little by little. Not as much as the mainstream media is, but that's to be expected. Usually you start seeing these kind of things, you see the trends, and then you start seeing more and more people cover it on social media, such as myself. Hopping to this other article from PC Gamer, just a side note I wanted to touch on. AMD, Nvidia, and Intel urge Biden to salvage the US chip industry. So due to the semiconductor industry being under pressure with the lack of supply there is with all the increased demand, it looks like they're looking for some help from the Biden administration. So if I read this section here that I'm highlighting, it looks like according to CRN and representing those listed above, it's talking about the companies. The SIA are requesting funding through investments and initiatives to help bolster the semiconductor manufacturing and research industry. This kind of funding was already given the okay as part of a defense bill passed in January 2021, outlined in the CHIPS for America Act. Apparently, it needs a little push, however. Over the past 31 years, the US share of global semiconductor manufacturing has seen a drop from 31% down to just 12%, with overseas incentives picking up some of the slack. In order to press the appeal, executives note that semiconductors are critical to the US economy. Without this funding, they believe Biden's economic recovery and infrastructure goals remain unreachable. So if there is a legitimate tie there between economic recovery, infrastructure being done relying on the semiconductor industry, then I don't see why Biden and this current office wouldn't include some kind of funding for the semiconductor research industry and to push all of this. I'm sure that if that happens, if this bill passes and there is funding in this area, I'm sure Intel and AMD will probably see a boost from that. Lastly, there's a good article from Quan Chen Ma on Seeking Alpha. It's called AMD, the Post-COVID Outlook. So it goes into a lot of the things that we've already been talking about regarding working from home, being offset by people just going out and buying it now that there is money in the pocket. You know, stimulus has been coming out. There's another expected stimulus bill. The new processors that are coming out that are going to attract new buyers. But one thing that I really wanted to touch on from this article is that if we go down to where I have some highlights, this section that says back of the envelope valuation. For at least the last 10 years, AMD's share price has responded more to revenue than to earnings. Figure 4 demonstrates the different correlations between AMD's stock price, revenue estimates, and EPS estimates, respectively. It is visually apparent and verified by the statistical significance that AMD's stock price correlates with revenue estimates the most. History can easily explain the difference in correlations, considering that AMD lost most of its CPU market share to Intel back in early 2000. Since then, investors have paid more attention to the revenue growth to regain the market share instead of profitability. So if we take a look at this, you'll see the red line is actually revenue in billions tracked against AMD's stock price. And you can see it ties very, very closely with revenue just kind of bouncing around, but they marry up pretty well. The high correlation between AMD stock prices and revenue estimates also provides a good indication of where the stock price will move toward. Figure 3 shows that as AMD's estimated revenue grows at an annual rate of about 30% until 2024, the high correlation suggests a significant upside for the share price per historical relationship. If the company actually meets the revenue expectation, AMD's price may reach $120 no later than Q1 2021 by merely extrapolating the share price in relation to predicted revenue. It's saying that if this trend continues to hold true, $120 is not out of the realm of reason this quarter. This article was just posted, I believe, about 2 days ago. So they're looking at quite a bit of upside here in the near term, potentially. Of course, this is all speculative. Nobody has a crystal ball. Going to the takeaways section of this article. In the post-COVID time, macros will offset each other for the semiconductor industry. Even when the working from home surge starts to fade, the CPU demand will still outstrip the supply as the stimulus recovery will pick up part of the loss. And a lot of the revenue estimates that are coming out with this 30% annual rate of growth by 2024, it is guidance provided by AMD. And of course, a company is always going to try to say that they're going to do amazing. However, from their track record over the last 3 quarters of amazing earnings beats, I mean, it looks pretty good. So I'm actually really happy that those of you out there that have been on my Discord talking about different stocks had requested AMD because I was not following this stock previously. And this is something that I really want to get into. I am eyeballing some calls just because I do see some upside in the near term, but please keep in mind, options are a lot riskier. The safest bet is just to buy some stocks, some common shares in the company. I definitely see this as being a stock that will grow over the year and have some solid gains. You know, of course, I don't think it's going to boost 1,000% or anything crazy like that. I'm not going to put a 2x, 3x, 10x, you know, a thumbnail on this video, but I do see some solid growth, you know, maybe 20, 30% over the year. That would be incredible. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Commenting on my videos helps a ton. You know, it pushes the video out. If you like, it does the same thing. I really appreciate it. I try to respond to every comment that gets posted on my videos. And if you're not part of the Discord group, please consider joining. It's down in the description for a link to the Discord. And by all means, if you have a request for a video, leave it in the video ideas section. And if everybody votes on it, it may be the next video I make. Till next time, guys. See ya.